everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. A little video that I'm doing, more of just like my astro musings, and a bit of a different video than I usually do. So just kind of like asterisk. One, this is not totally an astrology video. I will tie astrology into this at a later point and kind of talk about why the current astrology inspired me to want to do this video. Two is this is going to be a video that I'm doing actually on a book that I have read several times and then read again just recently. I'm going to tell you guys why it's coming up, and I think it's super timely. And I recommended it actually in one of my videos. I think I recommended it in my monthly address. So this is the book that we're going to be talking about, A Call for Revolution. A Vision for the Future by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I think it's just it's a really, really, really important book. So I'm hoping that by the time I put this video out, I'm going to have my Amazon affiliate link. I'm not trying to make money. I don't really care. It's just I'm going to start actually promoting a lot of things that I'm reading to my clients and also my viewers. That shapes a lot of my views, especially when it comes to my practice and working with people. So if you want to find ways to support me, support the channel, if this inspires you to want to get this book, look for the link below. I hope to have it along with many other videos in the future, because boy, I have a lot of books. So like I said, this is not really an astrology video, but we'll have a way to kind of tie it in at the end. So what possessed me to want to talk about this book? First of all, Spirit works in very strange and mysterious ways for me, okay? Sometimes I will get a message, and I'll get a message several times over until I follow it up. So this story goes way back actually to like 2017, 2018. Actually, this book was published in 2017. Okay, so those of you guys who are going to see, look, I'm a crazy person. I went out last night. Because I actually had a bunch of tarot cards that were marking the page. Today's video is probably going to sound like a lot of like story time. So if you're down to listen to that, pull up a seat, get comfortable, because I'm going to be reading you a lot of this book. But back to why I'm reading the book. 2017, 2018, my mentor brought up in a session that I needed to read the book, that it was going to be really important for working with clients in the future and helping guide younger generations and helping them understand what's going on in this planet, energetically, environmentally, politically, socially, spiritually, what have you. So I got the book. I kind of flipped through it, in all honesty, even though it's really short. It's about I think 100 pages long. And I read it and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I found myself coming back to it every couple of years, and I'll kind of read bits and pieces of it, and then, put it back on my bookshelf. Somewhere around a month ago, in meditation, it kept coming up again. That was like, hey, you need to actually really sit down and read this book, and read it front to back. Don't be distracted. Take the time and do it. In the span of that, I've read the book about 3 or 4 times. Obviously, it's not that long. You can sit down and probably read it in about 2 hours. So even those of you guys who have the shortest attention span, this is going to be a really awesome read. But the reason why I think it came back up recently in meditation for me was because it was hopefully going to be something that would influence one of my astro talks in helping other people. So boy, did it. So essentially, let me read you guys the back. It says, "My young friends, you are my hope for humanity. I want to state it out loud and clearly so that you hear and respond to my message. I'm confident in the future that you have the capacity to lead humanity towards a renewed form of fraternity, justice, and solidarity." So, story time, and I have to kind of put this disclaimer. These are not my words. This is just a lecture that's inspired purely by the things that I have marked in this book. Perhaps maybe at the end of this book, you're like, thanks for the spark notes. I've got what I needed. I don't need to buy it. Maybe you will buy it. But these are not my words. This is purely me reading to you guys from this book. And yeah, so my mentor recommended it. I actually spoke to her on the phone like a week ago, and I was like, pull the book out, read the book. Oh my God, it's all happening. It's wild to me that the Dalai Lama, basically channeled this book, which is more of like a manifesto, in probably 2016, 2017, far before some of the events in 2020 and 2021 and 2022 have taken place. So my hope is in reading some of this to you guys, just the excerpts that kind of stuck and stood out to me the most, that it's going to inspire you to want to create change. Now, this is a video that's for everyone, right? I want everybody to be able to hear what he has to say and maybe just take a little bit of food for thought here and there and apply it to how you're living your life right now. But specifically, people who have Aquarius placement. So I'm thinking like a Saturn in Aquarius, a Sun in Aquarius, a Mercury in Aquarius, an Aquarius Sun, Moon, Rising. I'm really calling out to the Neptune in Aquarius generation and the Uranus in Aquarius generation. Although they're young, I know you guys are out there. And I hope that this is something that is inspiring for you. So let me go ahead and read you some of the more prominent pieces because there is quite a few of them. And I'm just going to read you the bits and pieces of the things that I find probably the most moving, okay? So all in all, this is just more kind of like a short lecture on reflecting on the past and how to better kind of change the future collectively. Topple the remaining walls of shame. Today, in the early years of the 21st century, I'm launching an appeal to young people all over the world to break down the remaining walls of shame, not least those that have been erected in your minds. Walls of selfishness, walls of nationalist pride, of cult individualism, of pride and greed. Everything that divides belongs in the past. All those forces of separation and exclusion will be powerless to resist the strength and the desire of peace embodied by our generation. You can play a part in promoting democratic values and basic freedoms. Okay, so that was a big one for me. It's essential that you examine your deepest motivations and those in your opponent and adversary. Sometimes you will find it hard to choose between violence and nonviolence. Don't forget that negative motivation will always result in a wounding or destructive act, even in form and appearance as it appears benign. Western people tend to take a different approach. According to them, nonviolence and peaceful resistance are more appropriate to Eastern cultures. More inclined to action, they tend to seek immediate and tangible results in all situations. This attitude, which can be efficient in the short term, is often counterproductive in the long term, while nonviolence, which demands patience and determination, is always constructive. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the liberation movements born the countries of the former Soviet Union are highly instructive in this respect, which I particularly love. And I'll tell you guys why, because I was actually born November 11th, 1989, the week that the Berlin Wall came down. So I have the natal Saturn Neptune conjunction. Nonviolence is a pragmatic solution to contemporary conflicts. In spite of having experienced war and repression in my own country, where for over 60 years the People's Armed Police had enforced a reign of terror under orders from Beijing, stifling the freedom and dignity of the Tibetan people, I remain an ardent spokesman for world peace. Everything that I write is for the purpose of explaining how to create conditions necessary for peace, both within each of us and all around us. There was another part over here that I really liked. Let's see, where is it? Learn to use social networks with discernment. That's timely, huh? Do not be discouraged. Your mission to draw lessons from the errors of the past, all while developing a dialogue of tolerance and nonviolent communication with those around you. When you are confronted by violence, you must not give in to the kind of fear that binds people with bitterness, anger, and a thirst for vengeance. Take inspiration from the Norwegian Prime Minister, who in the wake of the 2011 terrorist attacks declared that the government would respond to terror with increased democracy, openness, and tolerance. It is precisely by guarding against this hatred you will become the architects of peace. The day is near when your generation will add war to the ash heap of history. Perhaps when that day comes, you will remember these words. Be rebels for peace, always. I call on all young people from all over the world to be the first generation on earth that declares itself committed to peace and the good of all humankind. Build global citizenry. Do not strive for a utopia. Make it a strategic objective, for it's the personal responsibility of each of you to ensure that the 21st century will not see a repeat of the suffering, devastation, and bloodshed that characterized the past. Youth of the world, your citizens of tomorrow, I'm convinced that through your spirit, you'll be able to bring about global peace, fraternity, and the greatest aspiration of the human heart. Be the solution-finding generation. The problems that you face today were not created by you. My generation and your parents, those born in the 20th century, are the problem generations. You must be the solution-finding generation. Your parents did not intend to damage the environment. We've only realized the extent of this catastrophe now that it's almost too late. Why? Because the destruction of the natural world has become visible only gradually for a long time and has been undetectable. Think about that, right? Let's see. It's up to you, my young friends, to write the next chapter of our history. I have adopted the motto, freedom, equality, and fraternity. I like that one. The revolutions of the past have not transformed the human spirit. Because I am the Dalai Lama of Tibet, people are surprised in hearing me expressing political opinions. But I'm the disciple of the French Revolution. Although I do not know the detail of the course of the French Revolution, I remind people that it was those revolutions who gave the world the Declaration of the Rights of Man, of the citizen, and the great principles that inspired the Universal Declaration of 1948. If we have created problems, we have the means to resolve them. It's vital to study history in order to avoid repeating the errors of the past. If you look at the revolutions that have taken place throughout history, you can see that they came about in reaction to conflicts of interest caused by hatred, anger, frustration that grew until they became uncontrollable and eventually triggered a revolutionary process. The French Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, the Cultural Revolution all led to violent bloodbaths, destruction, and terror. We may have brought about the fall of political leaders and regime change, but they failed to radically transform the human spirit. The revolutions that took place the last part of the 20th century were different in their early revolutions because they were pacifist in nature. Young people were peaceful revolutionaries. They are the inspiration behind my call to confront the challenges in our era, rising up and embarking on a revolution that has no precedent in human history. Bring on the revolution of compassion. Now is the time for compassion. Why now? Because compassion is vital. If it is a mistake to think that it's a noble ideal, a beautiful sentiment. You have grown up in such materialistic, individualistic societies that showing compassion may seem as a sign of weakness. But if we do so, we forget that more than anything, it's the energy that sustains life. Right now, as I make this appeal, life on Earth is being devastated. 2/3 of the world's vertebrate species have disappeared everywhere in the fields. In the oceans, the sky, the forests, life on Earth is experiencing a serious depletion. This is the sixth mass extinction the sixth mass extinction after that of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. I have a dream that women will become national leaders. Our mother plays a crucial role in our childhood. It's true for all 7 billion of us living on this planet. As you know, you would not have survived without your mother's love. Such a law of nature. Fathers play an important role too, but at the beginning of life, the mother is irreplaceable. She's the closest to the body, the heart, the spirit of her child. It is she who bore and brought you into this world. Experiencing this primordial link is decisive. As the child grows up, it feeds on the maternal tenderness as it feeds on milk. It's now recognized that the early childhoods of most antisocial people, there was a lack of maternal love. The world is our home and humanity is our family. I call on the next generation of young women to be mothers of the revolution of compassion that this century is so desperately in need of. You have a special role to play in creating a better world, and it's often thought that women are more empathic and sensitive and more receptive to the feelings of others. Accept leadership roles, for we need you to promote love and compassion. Collective intelligence and compassion. You are young adults facing different ideological and religious conflicts in an economic system that overexploits natural resources without giving life's fragile matrix a chance to regenerate. Where we all live in some manner, it's most profligate on Earth. More than 5 planets would be needed for all of us. There are 67 billionaires that are grabbing as much wealth as possible, and more than half the world's population. Keep in mind, this was in 2017. You are a part of the world as much as the world is a part of you. Focus on becoming elite athletes for compassion. You will improve your performance through regular practice. Since the early 2000s, cerebral plasticity, the ability to transform structure, chemistry, and functioning of the brain through repeated and progressive exercises, have been clinically proven by neuroscientists. In other words, through practicing specific exercises, you can develop a form of unconditional compassion. Be assured that you do not have to be experienced in such ordeals or be a monk, Buddhist, or Tibetan priest to attain this level of immeasurable, loving, limitless compassion. You can all get there. First, I say to you, compassion should be the driving force in all of your lives. You need to fundamentally change your understanding of human nature. If your generation develops a scientifically based conviction that every human being has a good and generous heart, imagine the profound outcome, how society would change. We'd have a more positive view of humanity. Be aware that the future of humanity does not depend exclusively on politicians, the executive officers, or huge corporations, or the United Nations. The future is in the hands of those who recognize themselves as being a part of we, the world's 7 billion people. Individuals cannot save the world's problems on their own without resorting to assistance and playing the ball game and falling into the traps of power. It's by the power of example that you will inspire other young people. The number of responsible individuals around you will rise from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to many thousands. You will see an improvement in the situation of our planet. You and your children will live in this world of which I dream. Every action in the world and every thought has a global resonance. Urgency alert. So this is kind of like the condensed version of like what the book is really about. So we're kind of wrapping up here, guys. I'm calling on you to bring a revolution motivated by compassion for the sake of your own children, future generations. When Westerners speak of humanity, they are generally referring to the present. Indeed, past generations of humankind count little. That of the future has yet to come. All that matters is a Western perspective as it's today's generation and its immediate interests. But the responsibility is universal, and it encompasses a consideration for those who come after us. We cannot overlook the fact that the global population, which tripled in the 20th century, will have multiplied 2- or 3-fold by the end of this century. According to the current patterns in growth, the development of the global economy entails excessively high levels of energy consumption, carbon dioxide emissions, and deforestation. If we do not change our behavior, there will be environmental degradation across the globe, surpassing that we have ever seen. My young friends, brothers, and sisters, in this course of my life, I have been to witness our changing world. Today we face such dangers that it's vital that we do not bury our heads in the sand. For those environmental problems have natural causes, unstoppable catastrophes, you will not necessarily manage to find solutions. And because of global warming, calamities such as hurricanes, tsunamis, floods, droughts, landslides, this will only increase in intensity. The only solution will be to face it all with courage, determination, standing shoulder to shoulder with fellow citizens, and showing solidarity and loving kindness towards the most vulnerable. This is the new world that will bequeath to your children. It's only through mutual support and cooperation that you'll be able to contain disasters that are caused by economic and social injustice that are fueled by greed, selfishness, and negative states of mind. If you shift your consciousness towards greater benevolence and responsibility, you will find real resources. The earth is giving you clear signs of the sweeping consequences of unconscious human behavior. For the first time in history, the future of humanity depends on the upcoming generation, yours. You are responsible for the well-being of billions of humans, all in a matter of living species sharing the adventure of life on Earth. It's up to you to protect natural resources, guard over air, water, oceans, forests, and flora. To do so, it's essential that you realize the potential for love and compassion. Compassion exists. It's hiding within the world around us. The revolution of compassion is a million quiet revolutions. That's just, I think that one quote probably struck me the most, because when we look at what's going on in the world, and I guess maybe this is just coming from my perspective because, 4 or 5 days a week, I'm talking to anywhere between 4 and 8 people, right? I'm just constantly talking to people around the world. That statement rings super true for me, because there's a lot of people who are quietly fighting their own wars or their own revolutions in their own life, right? And whether it's like conflict within family relationship dynamics, or, kind of feeling like morally you're a bit stuck on some certain situations that are going on in your life or in the world. The micro very much reflects what's going on in the macro. So I think a lot of people really could benefit from really looking at it in that way. I think we get so overly consumed with like, oh, what's going on in my life and this and that and all these things, that we're kind of losing touch with the fact that there's a lot of mirroring that's going on out in the world. So we can be really quick to judge what's going on globally, but not be proactive in actually creating change in our own personal life, which can in turn have a ripple effect. So I'll read it again. The revolution of compassion is a million quiet revolutions, right? So being compassionate in a way can really solve a lot of these problems. And so then he actually gave several moments of realization, which also kind of condenses a lot of what he's saying, and it makes sense in a sense of order. So the revolution of compassion involves 3 moments of realization and 11 commitments for life, as set out in the Charter of Universal Responsibility. The first moment of realization, inner peace and the shared reality of life. I was born on this earth as a child of life at the heart of the cosmos. My genetic codes incorporate messages from the universe. I am linked to all things and in the shared reality of life. Their well-being depends on the balance of the ecosystems, which themselves are dependent on the peace and the reigns of the heart of men and women and the spirit of justice in human society, where no one should be cast aside or afflicted by hunger, poverty, or deprivation. In a spirit of equality, free from prejudice, material attachment, and hatred, I commit to playing my part in maintaining and reestablishing the harmony of life. My peace and inner healing be present in every single one of my actions dedicated to the good of all existence, both human and non-human. This is an appeal to all living beings. Participate in the joy of universal love, in the love blood of life. The second moment of realization, our inner humanity. I was born in this earth, a child of life, at the heart of humanity, my family. I am motivated to act for the good of all living things, purely by altruism and by accepting universal responsibility, inner peace, love, compassion, and not only ways of expressing a noble ideal, but also of offering pragmatic solutions to issues we face in this new reality, as a means of guaranteeing our collective interests in the face of loosening the social bonds and breakdown of society's solidarity. Recognizing the necessity of cooperation enables me to understand that what most secure basis for the world of sustainable development is based both on the individual and the shared practice of inner peace, love, and compassion. I revitalize hope and confidence in the shared destiny of humanity. The third moment of realization, the force of truth. I was born on this earth, a child of life, at the heart of the great peace of the natural world. In this era of the internet, globalism, I am aware of how I'm being manipulated and instrumentalized by techno-economic culture. It's my obligation to embody the wisdom of universal responsibility based on the power of truth and love. What Mahatma Gandhi called Satagayana. Sorry, I probably just botched that. It's my weapon in the nonviolent combat against justice. The moment truth passes through me to express itself, I become invincible. By living this way on a daily basis, I become, amongst others, with the help of others, an architect of peace, justice, and truth. As a citizen of the world, I assume a new civic bond of universal responsibility. In this way, future generations will one day be witness to a new world which I aspire but may never see. According to the means, I will try my hardest in a spirit of peace and love and construct a new reality and a compassionate earth. So I kind of we'll wrap with that, at least for the book. And although some of that may have seemed a little bit jumbled, obviously I'm pulling from bits and pieces of the book. For me, really reading through that the last month has really shifted a lot of my perspective, and it's made me kind of realize like, wow, this is, first of all, something that I feel like more people need to be talking about, right? Not necessarily the book so much, although I love it, but just talking about being global citizens of the earth, right? It's not like I'm an American, I'm an Australian, I'm a Brazilian, I'm French, I'm Polish, whatever. It's not really so much about that, because at the end of the day, some of the decisions that we're making environmentally, politically, socially, spiritually, is affecting everybody, right? And so I guess my big takeaway from this is that it all mirrors very much, I think, some of the Aquarius energy that's going on in the skies right now. I think one of my favorite bits is just about being a rebel for peace, right? Being a rebel for peace. Unfortunately, over the next month, that's going to be something that's going to be really hard to maintain. Although I'm optimistic that it is possible that we can supersede some of the astrological transits, the truth is that watching Mars and Venus now move through the sign of Aquarius, which is very Uranian in nature, it's abstract, different, radical, reactionary, it is paving the way for giving us more peace and more freedom eventually. But as Mars and Venus get closer to Saturn, and specifically later this month, we're actually going to see Venus become trapped between Mars and Saturn. We are going to find it harder to find peace, harder to relate, harder to settle. There's going to be more resistance. There's going to be more reactions. And it's definitely going to spark something as it comes into squares with Uranus closer to about March 18th through what appears to be, the beginning of April. That is, I think, going to be a social revolution, a global revolution, a vibrational revolution. It's the beginning of souls that are going to start really reaching for freedom. And I don't mean just like socially, but spiritually, vibrationally, right? And so, people might think I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist when I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense. It's what's happened with the astrology the last couple of years. Saturn conjunct Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn was kind of like this political global takeover. And then the last 2 years with Saturn in Aquarius with the social limitation, many of us have found it very difficult to come together with other people physically, but also in terms of our perspectives and our viewpoints, right? And I think that the more that I talk to people, the more that I realize, and this is just an opinion, this isn't me putting down older people, it's a lot easier for me to work with younger individuals. That's just what I've seen. And it's made me realize that if there's any hope for the future, it's young people. Because a lot of older people who may have, Pluto in Cancer, Pluto in Leo, even some people with Pluto in Aquarius, people with Pluto in Virgo are resisting some of this change, right? And it's damn hard to have Pluto in Leo right now with the Saturn opposition and the Uranus square. So I feel for you guys, because there's a lot of egos that are shifting and a lot of things that are really breaking down, and old realities are kind of like wrapping up, and we're getting ready to like wake up to what's about to be the new state of the world. I have to be very careful what I say, because Saturn's square my Mercury right now. And this video was really meant to appeal to some of the younger people, right? Because, I think back to I did a video that went viral, the Uranus, Saturn, Neptune in Capricorn. And it's funny because I did the video years ago, and then I fell off YouTube and didn't watch it. And for many months, got emails from people and updates from YouTube that people were commenting on it. And when I came back to the video after being off of, for the most part, YouTube for several years, I went and read the videos, and I was like, oh my God, the comments on the video, I was like, oh my God, this video kind of went viral, and I had no idea, and I wasn't really watching, and I wasn't really aware at the time the effect that it would have in kind of helping a lot of other people. That video is still up, by the way, if you want to watch it. Although some of you guys might watch it and go, oh, my Saturn return already passed. But I kind of feel like this could be one of those videos for people who have the Saturn Uranus placements in Aquarius. Specifically, I'm most interested in what these people are going to be doing in the midst of these Saturn transits. So let me give you the time periods from this, because I don't remember exactly. I know that the Saturn in Aquarius people are going to be like 1991 to about part of 1993. So you guys are in your Saturn return. Welcome to the Thunderdome. Part of your Saturn return is to really help liberate humanity, come up with solutions. I know it's tough right now, guys, because you have had Pluto in conjunction to your natal Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn. Just from somebody who has those same placements, I remember when I had Pluto go transiting my Neptune and my Uranus, and it was a lot of having to dig through spiritual garbage, a lot of having to separate myself from guilt and this feeling that I have to have a 9-to-5 job in order to be productive or in order to be valued. And it was very difficult, but it was also the spark and the start of a really prominent kind of spiritual awakening for me. And I'm hoping that you guys are navigating well. It kind of looks like, for the most part, actually, 91, 92, 93, you guys are done. Now Pluto's kind of really on top of people from 94, 95. And then another group of people that I'm interested in are going to be the Uranus in Aquarius group. This started to kind of shift at the beginning of 1996. So those of you guys who are born from early 96, I'm really interested about people who are born in 1998, because it looks like you guys have Uranus and also Jupiter in Aquarius. Saturn is there. I hope that you guys are going to be the problem solvers. You're going to help with the solution. I'm also loving the Pluto and Sag generation. I'm not forgetting about you guys. You guys are here also to help us radically change education, law, and anything relating to how we relate to other cultures, and I think transform and transmute religious prejudice, to be honest with you, or racial prejudice in the world. And the Neptune-Uranus conjunction, which was taking place, let's see here. Let's go back. These are going to be even younger people. I don't know if these people are going to be quite on the boob tube yet, but I'll appeal to you guys anyway. So it looks like we had a conjunction. Sorry guys, I'm looking at my dial. Give me a second here. It was close, but I don't think it was conjunct. It looks like in the early 2000s, it was very close, but I do not believe there was a conjunction. Was it? Because it was retrograding. Yeah, I'm not seeing the exact conjunction. I'm closer to like 1999 right now. 1998. I think that's right when Neptune entered. Yeah, so somewhere around, the end of 97. It's close though, because some of you guys have Neptune at 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn, and Uranus is somewhere in the first degrees and Jupiter is there. So also I'm appealing to those of you guys born towards the end of 1997 going into early 1998. So those of you guys are like, what, 22, 23, 24 years old. These are going to be the people right now who are waking up, because Saturn is going through these conjunctions, and it's basically saying to you, it's time to vibrationally kind of, raise the bar. It's time to create a revolution. It's time to upgrade. Granted, those of you guys are also very much intertwined and kind of, you know, grew up right when the internet was kind of being a thing. You guys probably don't remember. I was born in 1989, so I'm kind of starting to feel like an old lady. But I remember when the internet first became like a thing and you had to wait for the internet to upload, and like you're hearing like this weird kind of like buzzing sound, and you can't be on the phone, and you're paying for AOL. It's like the Flintstone age. But you guys were born right on the brink of some of that technology being a thing. So you're going to be much more kind of tech savvy, and you have all that air conjunction that's really allowing you to just quickly relay information. There's no coincidence that like TikTok and stuff like that is really kind of big with those of you guys who are between like 18 and like 26 because of some of these placements. But what I would say to you is that if you're going through Saturn conjunct your natal Neptune, Saturn conjunct your natal Uranus, or Jupiter in Aquarius, like, we need you right now. We need you guys. It's so important for you guys to be present. It's important for you guys to be unifying other people, be sharing your talents, be using technology and media in productive ways, and really showing up, because we need you. You know, the same way that I'm not going to discriminate, we'll go back in time, but there are some other time periods beyond the Saturn and Aquarius people, or the more recent Saturn and Aquarius people. It looks like we also had, let's see here, a Saturn and Aquarius run, and this was people born from, there was also a Saturn Jupiter conjunction that was happening in 1961. So I'd love to hear, is there any of you guys out there, specifically the beginning of the end of 1961, closer to February of 1962, Saturn and the South Node and Jupiter all in Aquarius. Hopefully you guys are on the internet. We fucking need you guys right now. You are also very similar to that group of people who were born in the late 1990s who have that stellium. Granted, your South Node is in Aquarius, but you can really channel that energy really hard right now for showing up and helping others. Yes, you have Saturn in opposition to your natal Uranus currently. And you've got transiting Uranus square and oppose your Neptune, but we need you. You may be some of the people who are experiencing some kind of crisis energy, but I'm hoping that you're coming online and that you're working collectively with other people. Also, that year Saturn conjuncted the North Node, and Saturn conjuncted the South Node in 1962, and Uranus conjuncted the North Node. So you have a very strong Uranian signature. Now, this is not just limited to people who have placements in Aquarius. Maybe you have a very strong 11th house stellium. Maybe you have a South or a North Node in Aquarius. I think the South Node in Aquarius people are going to be finding that they're doing more individual work to be able to kind of bring people together and showing their talents. The North Node in Aquarius people are the ones who are really kind of getting online, tuning in, bringing people together, and possibly orchestrating what may be the very beginnings of new social movements, right? So let me know, do you have any of these placements in Aquarius? Are you going through your Saturn return in Aquarius? This kind of prompted me to want to do another video and an update. So I'm actually going to come back. I'm working on a video right now that's going to be about these Saturn and Aquarius people specifically, to kind of help you guys out and talk to you a little bit about what you got going on and why you guys are different. And I'm also going to do a Saturn return video if you guys are interested in that. I've done one in the past where I talked about it briefly, but I've never really sat down and been like, hi, this is exactly what happened during my Saturn return, and this is the advice that I can give you, because I'm very Saturn based. I have 3 other planets conjunct Saturn. I was actually born in November of '89 when Saturn and Neptune were exactly conjunct in Capricorn, and it was exactly opposite Jupiter. So I have found that a lot of my Saturn return was about finding ways to create peace, finding peace grounding out and making spirituality real, being able to make that something that was going to go the distance. You know, to be honest with you, like my Saturn return almost took me out. It was really bad. And I don't say that to like scare people, but it was just, it was a really difficult time for me. And I think that if you're somebody who's in your Saturn return right now, on the other side of that usually is like a pot of gold. And I can tell you that it does get better. Usually somewhere around 31 is when you kind of start to see or feel the shift. But perhaps maybe sharing my story of what happened, because some things were quite literal. Now, I'm a total freak situation because, like I said, I have Uranus, Venus, Saturn, and Neptune all conjunct. They're actually all conjunct within 4 degrees in opposition to Jupiter. So it was like a big turning point, and it was actually a period of time where I really had to kind of get off the internet. I realized that it wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't going to help me. I didn't want to be doing the work that I was doing purely just because I wanted to be like a celebrity astrologer or just be somebody who was popular. I really, at that point, was kind of almost on the brink of giving up. And I really just told myself I was going to give myself really until the other side of my Saturn return, until Saturn left my Uranus-Venus conjunction, to really make sure, is this really what I want to do? Is this really what I'm here to do? And is it going to be healthy for me and emotionally fulfilling? And it ended up materializing as about 2.5 years of me continuing my studies, going back to astrology school, doing more work with the community, continuing to do sessions, but really needing to just really ground out my life before coming back. And I'm so glad that I did that. I'm so glad that I took the time to do that, because I feel like it's really, really kind of shined through in my practice and just how I've kind of developed my reading strategies and like my techniques and building everything out. So I feel like now that I've had Saturn touch almost all of my personal planets over like a 6-year period, and also, you know, having had Pluto conjunct all my personal planets, and I'm done with that, it's like I feel like I've had like 60 years of experience, and I'm like 32 years old. So let me know, would you guys like a Saturn return video? Are you interested in that? If not, that's okay, no big deal. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing at least more into talking, like I said, to the Saturn and Aquarius people, and also having conversations about how to navigate your Saturn return. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back, and I'm going to do another book talk, but it's going to be on tyranny. And that's going to be more for everybody, and just thoughts on that, and talk to you guys a little bit about a special gift that I was given, a book that I've been reading through, and how it correlates to some of the astrological transits of today, and also in my natal chart, because everything is hitting my North Node right now. I have a North Node in Aquarius, so everything's hitting it. Saturn, Venus, Mars, all these planets. So I'm kind of having to show up. Hopefully you guys like this video. Please check out my links below. I am actually getting ready to release my new Astro Study Club. If you have not signed up for my newsletter, please consider signing up. I will be releasing the sign up for that, and that's coming this Saturday. So it will be going out pretty soon. So if you want to study with me, if you want to learn, we're going to be doing a 7-week course. Twice a week, we're going to be meeting on Zoom and chatting live. I'm very excited to do that, to get back into teaching. And I will be back, like I said, at the video tomorrow, and also later this week. On Saturday, we're going to be doing live astrology readings. So if you would like a reading, check that out. Check out my links below. If you want to follow me on social media, if you want to book a reading with me, I am happy to see you. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoy your week. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and I will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.